I had one moment when I decided to change my life.
When I was a little boy, I dreamed of where I am now.
And I remember saying to my father, one day I'll show you. Certain moments in our life we get little signals, little flashes.
I may have had a vision, I don't know.
Well, I was told I would be a failure. I was told I would amount to nothing.
Didn't have much hope. And everything happened for me.
Now maybe at that moment when I said, I'll show you, maybe that set a spark off. I don't know. Maybe something divine went off in me. And I don't know how that happens. But it's happened to me.
And from that spark, Anthony Hopkins has created one of the most iconic careers in cinematic history. Since his career began 74 years ago, he's accumulated 2 Academy Awards, 4 BAFTA Awards, 2 Primetime Emmy Awards, and a Lawrence Olivier Award. Across his vast film, theater, and television career, there's something that everyone can resonate with. He's lived a life only one can dream of, which is suitable considering his profound philosophy that life is an illusion.
Whether you're Christian or a believer or Catholic or Protestant or Muslim or Hindu, it's all the same. Life is a dream. And this is beyond religion or spirituality, is that this is all an illusion, Maya. Because my life has been such. And I'm not sure where the reality is. But when you look at our own lives, we don't know what reality is. We don't know what life is. We don't know what time is. We could be dreaming in this at this moment. We don't know.
The self is a kind of fiction.
None of it makes any logical left-brain sense to me. There have been books written about it, Jung wrote about it, that there's something in us that we deeply understand. That's how asleep the human race is. So our whole history has been one of a slumber.
All that we see or seem is but a dream within a dream.
It's a dream within a dream, to quote Edgar Allan Poe. They are not long the days of wine and roses. Out of a misty dream, a path emerges for a while, then closes within a dream.
In this dream within a dream that we call life, Hopkins credits something within ourselves that stretches far beyond all religions. Something that is always inside all of us, but is still so easily overlooked.
I think there's a superior consciousness in all of us that we touch into sometimes. I don't know if I believe in anything. I mean, I'm a deity, but I believe whatever that thing is that we talk about for centuries, I think it's just within us.
I read someone, I can't remember whether it was in the Old Testament or I think it was a shaman, maybe Carlos Castaneda, but the shaman said it was a drought. Cattle were dying, people were dying in a desert. And the shaman said, build the ditches, dig the ditches for the rain. And they said, there is no rain. Dig the ditches and the rain will come.
Remarkable things have happened in my life by just wishing or asking for something, for a bit of help here. So and I don't believe, I'm an agnostic, I guess. Is there any way you can help me or whatever? And there's something inside us that will respond, I believe. I really believe that. We have to make our lives, because life is tough. We have to believe in the power of life.
Now you non-believers may say, oh, that's nonsense. Well, believe what you want. That's the rational mind. I don't think the rational mind is working too well at the moment. It's the irrational mind, the subconscious.
The subconscious mind is a tool we can use for our benefit and is certainly one of the great mysteries of life. However, Hopkins takes this a step further in expressing everyday existence as one profound, miraculous mystery.
All I know is that there's a bigger mystery in my life than I can even comprehend. I don't know what I am, I don't know where I came from, I don't know where I'm going. I have no idea what made me. I came from my father, my mother, my grandfather, but I don't know what I consist of. I have no idea, but I believe that something underneath it is miraculous. I feel every day as I get older anyway, is that it's all a miracle. I mean, my heart beats, lungs breathe. That is an extraordinary phenomenon. All these years later, 82, my heart is still beating. Mm-hmm. My body is functioning as far as I know. I feel relatively sane. But what I do know is that I know nothing. Now I am completely clueless because I've lived to such an age that I realize that my knowledge is meaningless. That of myself I am nothing. That we are not special. Once you begin to believe in, terminal uniqueness, absolute specialness, then your life is not worth living, because we are not special. We're just ashes at the end. That is the great freedom for me. To quote T.S. Eliot or Auden, I have seen the moment of my greatness flicker, and I have seen the eternal footman hold my coat and snicker, and in short I was afraid. That's the wonderful thing. Or Macayam, there was a door to which I had no key, there was a veil through which I could not see, some little talk a while of thee and me, and then no more of thee and me. That's the greatest spiritual ethic of all, to know nothing. If you have certainty, you're dead. Certainty destroys people. Hitler destroyed 40 million people because he was certain. Stalin destroyed millions of his own people. Certainty, because he knew. No one knows.
Perhaps then, it is because Hopkins has no certainty in life that he is able to live such an extraordinary one. Through this methodology of uncertainty, he grows by living in the present moment. When we stop reminiscing on the past or looking for the future for happiness, we are able to fully embrace where we are now.
Believe in the life force. My philosophy is get on with it, enjoy it. I just take it easy and think, well, what's to be will be. I've got one thing that helps me through. I say, today is the tomorrow I was so worried about yesterday.
Tomorrow doesn't exist. Next hour does not exist. It's all potential. I know people who live in the past, they just live back there all the time, talking about something that happened to them 30 years ago. They're like zombies. And I can't hang out with those people. I know them, but I can't spend more than 5 minutes with them because I feel so guilty about being happy when they're so miserable. Because it's life's in session. For many years, I thought life was a big rehearsal, a big event. And somebody in Los Angeles said, Tony, this is the big event. Life is in session. We spend so much time thinking it's a rehearsal for the big event, the big red carpet in the sky. And it's not.
And it's no secret Hopkins' life has been one massive event indeed. Recently, he has accepted the 2024 Lifetime Achievement Award at the Joy Awards for his immense success in the film industry. Despite his undeniable success, he's cautious to not let his ego get the best of him. During his Lifetime Achievement speech, he said,
"At this time of my life, I'm just happy to wake up in the morning and realize I'm still here."
So how do you explain the fact that you reached the pinnacle of your craft?
I have no idea. As I say, I cannot take credit for anything. You see, the ego is the most dangerous part of us. Ego is the enemy. You have to have a little bit of it to keep moving. But you let that get out of control, then you have the power freak. You see them in the papers every day. The corruptness of corporations, the greed, the power, the belief that they're gods. I know of people who cannot communicate. They have bodyguards around them, and they have an entourage, and nobody's allowed to talk to them. Well, okay, if that's what they want. But it's a terrible life, I think. Because you can't function. You cannot function, and it is all about the ego. The most powerful force is the ego, and it's a killer. You need it. It's the burr under the saddle that keeps you moving, but you have to be in control of it, and constantly on guard against it, And to not make demands, but make requests, and be respectful. I think that's all. If I'm cruel or disrespectful to someone, I'm going to pay the price for it. So I've learned over the years, slowly, and I'm a sinner like everyone else, I've learned over the years to respect people, to be kind. And if I'm angry about something, fine, I'm angry. I'm only human.
And one remarkable human he is. He's proven to be not only a successful actor, but also a profound source of wisdom. There's something we can all learn from the immense intellect of Sir Anthony Hopkins. Your best self is one choice away. Now's the time to make it real.
I try to do my music about what my experiences are. Sometimes I just feel I'm actually on the wrong planet, And I feel great when I'm in my garden, but the moment I go out the gate, I think, what the hell am I doing here? I believe, as most Buddhists and Hindus believe, that it's us coming back, Like our kid, it's something you did, God knows when, but you're doing it again. Really, the past, the present, and the future is just one big cycle.
And this cycle, the infinite continuum of time and space itself, encapsulating all we are from conception to dust, from infancy to seniority, is what creates the essence of our being. However, while most people would associate our being with our physical bodies, this is not the case for legendary George Harrison. George explains that we are actually metaphysical spirits encased in bodies.
It's all down to the individual, what you can manifest within yourself as to the value of anything. Really, the whole of life should be a spiritual experience because we are spirits who are just encased in bodies. People forget that and think they're just this body, but we're actually spirits in bodies.
One may even look at our spirits as our truest, freest self, trapped within a physical form. And when our spirit is freed from our body, George states that we eventually make our way into another, being the same core in a different physicality. This is commonly referred to as reincarnation. Here he explains how reincarnation is a direct result of karma.
What we are now is really the effect of whatever we've been in the past. And, I do, through this Hinduism, believe in reincarnation and all that. So what I believe, basically, simply, is we all live from birth to death. We all create a lot of action, which is action-reaction they call karma. And it's like that. It's like credit and debit. It's just like an account that at death, death is actually your physical body packs in. That we keep going, and at some period later, we take another body and we try again. Because all those scriptures tell us anyway that there's never a time when we weren't, and there won't ever be a time when we're not. It does get heavy philosophical, but that's what the Lord teaches in every scripture, that the physical body is the thing which goes through the changes and which is impermanent. Everyone that's alive is in some way born into a position or a situation or a country or a time which is the direct result of their previous actions, their reactions. That whole thing of action, reaction, life and death are the same. Somebody said, what's the cause of death is birth. Everybody's worrying about dying, but in order not to die, you just don't have to get born, because the moment you're born, you're automatically going to die, because birth and death go hand in hand. So does action, reaction, karma, and rebirth. So I just believe this is getting pretty far out to say how come the Beatles did that. I don't know. All I can put it down to is that whatever it was, the chemistry of 4 people being born in that period, based upon whatever we'd been in our past, in that place, that time, with everybody else that's relative. I believe, it's like you meet people in your life. I think a lot of your friends are people who were your friends in other lives. And I think people who, if you hate somebody, I'm sure you're going to keep coming through life after life hating. It'll be the same people. It's only the same as, how Tchaikovsky can play the piano and how this kid is smart at doing that. It's all down to karma somehow.
Many of these beliefs stem from George's knowledge of Hinduism. He takes the Hindu point of view that there is a truth that underlies all religions. In fact, George's views on religion can be accurately summed up in this statement: one of our perennial problems, whether or not there is actually a God. From the Hindu point of view, each soul is divine. All religions are branches of one big tree. It doesn't matter what you call him, just as long as you call.
Do you consider yourself a Hindu? Do you label yourself as a...
On a simple level of talking about religions and Buddhists and this and that and the other, one of the things that Hinduism teaches is that there's a truth which underlies all religions. So, I'm a Hindu, actually, at heart. I'm a Hindu, but all that means is that I can relate more to like the teachings in the Gita than I can in the Bible, but that's no put down on the Bible. It's just that
From a Christian point of view, they always taught us how it was painful and, how you have, the crucifixion and the whole thing, whereas from the Hindu point of view, it's all playful. Krishna as the name of the Lord. It's playful, it's to enjoy, it's to try and enjoy the moments. But that is not to say that you have disregard for the past or the future, but to actually be conscious of being there now, to be pleased to be playing the part that you're playing, because that's all we're doing. I'm playing the part of ex-Beatle George, you're playing the part of, Dave interviewing me, and they're all playing the, you know what I mean? But to enjoy it as opposed to see it as a, dead end.
This ideology of life being synonymous with play is a way we can detach from our ego. The spirited nature of play detracts from the grave and self-conscious ego. This shift in being ultimately brings us closer to bliss consciousness and that thing we call Krishna or God.
You think about I am this, I do that, I do this, me, mine. That's why I've just tried to get beyond the I or the me or the mine, which is really selfish and ego, and is not our real self. Our real self is really just pure spirit, full of knowledge and everything, but we just have hidden it from ourselves by our association with material energy, right?
Perhaps if we weren't so caught up with this association of material energy, we wouldn't have the same divisions within society. For example, if we didn't care not for what we have, but instead for who we are, there would be no gap between the rich and the poor. George suggests that those who have power or wealth should do their part to address these inequalities.
There's enough on this planet for everybody. There's not just enough, there's abundance. It's just that it happens to all be held up by greedy people, and they have like Buckminster Fuller who could tell them where to ship the stuff. One place you got too much of something, some other place they haven't got anything. It's a matter of coordination between world powers in order to make it. Because, I'm certainly doing my best to try and give a little bit here and there wherever I can. So, the point is, if everybody did give a little, there wouldn't be no starvation and no poverty or sickness. I tell you one thing, there's sickness going on, and there's some good people doing work in hospitals, but they got no bread to do it on. Not only are they working in a miserable condition with sick people, but they're scraping the barrel for funds to keep going.
By looking at his spiritual viewpoints and ethical considerations, I think it's safe to say we can summarize much of George's teachings with the common denominator of a deep understanding of love.
That's it, really. It's all love. Whichever way you look at it, it's all love. How much you can get from each other, and that's determined by how much you're giving to each other. But it all starts within ourselves, and then it spreads to those around us, good and bad. But basically that's it. I think it's the love that we can generate is equal to the love that we get back. Amen.
All healing comes from inside ourselves. We have the physician on the outside and the physician on the inside, and all healing is based on love. We really don't understand our own power. See, I have this kind of idea that when God created this earth, whoever God is to whoever you are, created the earth, and it was beautiful and everything was in place and the way it should be. But then he created the human being, and he said to us, now you are the only creatures that have the right to choose and have free will. So therefore, I give you dominion over the earth. And we decided that what he meant by dominion was dominance. And so we've taken over the earth and done what we darn well choose with it. And look where we are. So it's that reality, the inner part of us, we're all reaching for our true humanity. And that true humanity understands that we are the ones who do the healing. See, I've come up with what I call 5 L's. The first one is life and love. Without life, there's nothing, you know. You can be a seed in the Great Pyramid for 5,000 years and nothing happens until love, which is light and water and so on, softens the shell and the seed opens up and it grows. Life and love are one unit. They work together. It's like a pregnancy. When a mother is pregnant, she and that baby are one unit. What she eats, the baby eats. What she thinks, the baby thinks. It's a constant process. But that aspect of reality that is that baby that is being nurtured and grown within the womb doesn't really find its own identity until it takes its first breath. So it's this reality that life and love are one unit. As we work with each other that way, we can really understand aspects of ourselves, but aspects of the world around us and aspects of other people too. The first L was life and love. So those two came together and I understood those. But the third one was laughter. Laughter without love is cruel. It's mean. It takes families apart. It has caused wars, you know. Laughter can be cruel, but laughter with love is joy and happiness. The fourth L is labor. Labor without love is drudgery. You just gotta go to work. You just gotta do this. But labor with love is bliss. It's why you singers sing, why painters paint. It's why I do what I do. It's why you do what you do. It's what makes our hearts sing. It's that inner aspect of our being that comes alive, and we'll work 5 times as hard as we were when we were dragging ourselves along with the drudgery thing. And the 5th one is listening. Listening without love is empty sound. It just doesn't make any sense. You don't understand. But listening with love is understanding. So these 5 L's have been very helpful for me in structuring and understanding the philosophy and the life that I'm working with.
And you've been a teacher, you've been a doctor, but you've been writing books, and you've just put out a new book, The Well-Lived Life, where you share 6 secrets. What do you hope people learn from that book?
I hope they really understand love being the teacher and love being the essence of healing. My spirit needs to bear witness with thy spirit. We need to let the energy of our being move and help, and as we help others, we help ourselves. It's that life flow that is so essential. Spend time looking for what I call the light. You know, I kind of see myself walking along with a flashlight in the dark on my path, and it's dark, and I can just go as far as my flashlight takes me. But as I'm walking along, sometimes on the side of the path, there's a light that is not very bright. It's just kind of shimmering. If I shine my light over there, all of a sudden that light becomes great. In other words, as we reach out for each other, just with whatever we have, whatever the opportunity is, and you use it and you work forward with it, you're helping people in ways that you know not.
I understand that you had a chance to meet one of history's greatest teachers. You met Gandhi at one point. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
I was 10 years old. We were leaving India. We were in the train and leaving Roorkee to go to Bombay. And I was really sad because I didn't want to leave India. And I knew I had to. And so I'm sitting in the train with my face plastered against the window, really looking out. In India, there are always crowds of people. Well, there were crowds of people here, but there was a man walking in front of this crowd, and he had on a dhoti and a staff, and I recognized him as Gandhi, and he was just walking along, and when it came into my sight, and he reached down, a little girl was handing him a flower. He took the flower, and as he looked up, he looked straight into my eyes, and I looked into his. And something happened. I can't explain to you what happened. I can't explain to anybody. I can't even explain it to myself. But I felt a connection of love that was really, really important to me. That was just a moment. I watched him go on with the Salt March that he was doing and so on. 30 years later, my parents were working with Gandhi as India was torn apart with the partition. Hindus and Mohammedans killing each other. It was just awful. And my parents had their little medical jeep, and they took it around to camps and did what they could. When Gandhi was speaking, my dad would get up on the platform with him, and they would talk together to the people. And Gandhi and my mother and father formed a friendship. Gandhi gave my mother a Kashmiri blue shawl and my dad a Panipat blanket. It was a close enough relationship in the family that this was being done. So I feel that spark was started when I was 10 years old, and our family connection kept that going. It's recognizing when something like that happens and not shoving it under the carpet, because those are the things happen. I've looked at people sometimes and been able to feel that, and I don't even know who they are. I recognized Gandhi, but there are a lot of people who seem lost and so on. And if you can smile at them and speak to them and recognize them, people are waiting to be recognized. That's what Gandhi did when he looked at me and I looked at him. I recognized him and he recognized me. And that's still with me. This ability to really recognize each other as real people, living beings that are in the same world as we are. That love flows. And love has to keep on flowing or it dies.
What do you hope your legacy is?
That love is what really matters. When you get down to the basic center aspect of what healing is all about, it's about love and life.
Looking at someone who does something extraordinarily well, like a painter, a musician, or a dancer, or a redwood, you can't help but think, how did this all happen? This is stunning. There has to be a God. There has to be. How could this be created without thought? Just by pure accident? And have that accident so attractive to those of us who are here? It's like, is that a coincidence? I don't think so.
And Bryan Cranston's performances have that same effect on millions of viewers. In the year 2000, he had his first breakout role as Hal in Malcolm in the Middle, and an even bigger breakout in 2008 as Walter White in Breaking Bad. Bryan's accolades include 6 Primetime Emmy Awards, 2 Tony Awards, and 2 Golden Globes. When he views art, Bryan sees proof of God. Does he find that same proof when it is Bryan himself creating it? It seems as though the God that Bryan references comes from within, not from religion itself.
I am not a religious person. The moment I sense man-made thoughts and comments, I'm done. my God is better than your God. My God did this, and all the tales, and the morality tales and the cautionary tales that are taught. But once they use religion as a weapon for power, for one-upsmanship, for whatever, for gaining wealth, you lose me. It seems, though, that the larger the flock, the more weakened the chain gets, and it could break at any moment. And I believe in inclusiveness, and anything that's not like let people be who people want to be and love who they want to love and be around who they want to be. And if someone's intolerant of that, I'm not a part of their conversation.
The tolerance that Bryan practices is not yet widespread. When it comes to the younger generation, many parents are not open to letting their children become who they want to become. For example, there is an immense amount of pressure put on kids at a young age to pick a career years in advance of even graduating high school. Here Bryan reflects on this harsh reality.
I think sometimes we reach down too far into our youth and expect them to produce sooner than they should be able to. We look down now to 16-year-olds and say, where are you going to go to college? What are you going to do for the rest of your life? And it's like, they're not fully baked yet. How do they know? Give them a break. Just say, look, I think after high school, take a year off, take 2 years off, join the Peace Corps, travel, go figure things out, or just enjoy yourself. For the first time in their lives, they're adults, and they don't have to be somewhere. They're not told to be somewhere. Get used to that freedom. Get used to having the need to self-govern yourself, to be able to employ self-discipline or not. Or you realize, oh my God, I'm really slovenly. If I'm not told I need to go to class, I don't go. You might discover something about yourself. I need order. I need that. I like that. Some people love to be said, this is where you have to be and this is what you need to do. Are you that type of person? Or are you a type of person that wants more freedom in your life? And I think exploration, travel, it provides that.
The wisdom gained through traveling is incomparable to any other kind of learning. Being immersed into different cultures and unknown situations can provide unique life lessons that can only be taught from first-hand experience. Some of this wisdom can present itself during the act of getting lost.
I think people gain a tremendous amount of wisdom when they travel, when they wander, when they allow themselves, as I did, to get lost. And maybe you'll find yourself somewhere. At least traveling forces you to be social. You have to get directions. You have to learn where things are. You're attuned to your environment. You have to be more careful about the weather and where your lodging is going to be, where you're going to eat, how you're going to get from one place to another. When you're there, what is it you want to see? How can you find a place for you to actually just rest? It's an experience like no other. I love to travel, and I enjoy not knowing where I am. It's an unusual thing. I tell it, and I purposefully teach that to my daughter, who's now 24 years old, to not be afraid of not knowing where you are. So I'll go for a drive or go for a walk in a different city, and my wife will say, do you know where you're going? I go, not really. Just kind of exploring different places, and as long as you have a sense of direction, you'll find your way. You'll figure it out. And I do that in foreign countries as well. Just kind of wander and meander, and trust that you've paid attention to at least the basic requirement of where you have to get back to in order to find your way home.
But how has Bryan benefited from this kind of practice?
In 1976, I had just finished my second year of college and realized that after an experience in an elective acting class, that I wasn't going to be the policeman I thought I was going to be. That it was better if I didn't continue on with 2 more years of an administration of justice major, because I knew I wasn't going to become a policeman. So I thought I better just go figure out what it is I want to do. And so I hopped on the back of a motorcycle. My brother was in the same position, really. 2 young guys who were not quite sure what was in store for them and what avenue they should go down. So we both hopped on our motorcycles and we took off. We left California. I had about $150 in my pocket or something, and soon ran low of funds, and we'd had to get jobs along the way. What was great about it is that we had total freedom. We didn't know exactly where we were going. We didn't know how long we were going to stay in any given town. If it appealed to us, we would stay and explore different places and historical sites. If it didn't appeal to us, we took off again. We slept on golf courses, on cemeteries, back of mortuaries, schools, anywhere we can throw a sleeping bag, an old patch of grass, and that was our home for the night. And I was 19, 20 years old. It was fun, and you could do that then. And that's the time you want to do it. That's the age you want to do it. And in retrospect, I realized that I took off on this trip, which lasted 2 full years, in an effort to allow myself to get lost, to be lost, and to figure out while I'm gone what it is I really should be doing with my life. So I finally determined it was something where I wanted to allow myself to get lost so that I could be found, basically, is what it was. And after 2 years, it was during that trip that I had an epiphany that I really wanted to become an actor and do everything I could to put myself in a position to make a living and be a professional actor for the rest of my life.
From that point on, Bryan made a living as a working middle-class actor, until his 40s when he landed the role of Hal in Malcolm in the Middle. Prior to then, one of his most notable roles was Dr. Tim Whatley in Seinfeld from 1994 to 1997. In this interview, he speaks of a time on the show that he gained inspiration from an unlikely source.
You have to keep putting yourself in a position to be open for inspiration.
Yeah.
And
you have to prime the pump.
You do.
You have to. Yeah.
And the way to do it is what Shirley Knight taught.
Yeah.
Is start at the beginning, and that's relaxation. And you think, well, how am I want to get inspired. Yeah, here's how to do it. Start down here. It's like building a ladder to reach that. You have to be able to build these foundational blocks to be able to get to that point, possibly.
So have you had some moments like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Any that spring to mind?
There's a number of things. There's a story when I was on Seinfeld. I'm playing the dentist on Seinfeld that got an enormous laugh. And I didn't tell Jerry or Larry David that I was doing it. But I was rehearsing. It was an episode, and I did a half a dozen episodes as their dentist, Tim Whatley. This one episode, I'm in there, and Jerry is in my dental chair, and he's wondering, if I am hygienically clean, and so he's in my dental chair, and I give him laughing gas, and he goes out, and he doesn't know if he's been molested because his shirt was untucked, and in his daze, he sees my dental hygienist kind of put her blouse back together, and I'm kind of, and it's like, what's going on? Anyway, we rehearsed the scene, and off they go to another part of the set to rehearse another scene, and I stayed on my dental office set to figure out how the stool works and where the tools are and things like that, and I hear a voice, hey, it would be funny? And there's a guy on a ladder adjusting a lamp. And I go, guy on a ladder, what would be funny? And he said, when you ask for the nitrous oxide, take a hit of it yourself first. And I went, oh my God.
That's pretty good.
That is really
That's pretty good.
And so I didn't tell anybody. Audience loads in, we do it. And I go, nurse, nitrous oxide. And I take it. Yeah, that's good. And Jerry cracks up. We did that little run maybe 25 times because he kept laughing. And then I kept laughing, and we can't. And Larry David scolding both of us, stop laughing, do it again. And they said, that's a brilliant idea, brilliant. I go, it's not mine, it was, the guy on the ladder's not there anymore. And I'm
He's
looking.
out here somewhere.
Yeah, he's out there somewhere, yeah. So you never know where a great idea is going to come from.
And you know who that guy on the ladder was?
No, who was it?
Jesus.
Oh my God, I wish I had paid more attention.
Yeah, don't we all?
No wonder he wanted to wash my feet.
Did this gig simply come from a man on a ladder adjusting a lamp? Or is it deeper than that? Divine inspiration, perhaps? That's up to you to decide.
Come on. Define success for yourself. Whatever your answer is, don't choose anything that will jeopardize your soul. It's a scientific fact that gratitude reciprocates. And to that I say amen. To that I say, all right. And to that I say, just keep living, huh? Yeah.
Matthew McConaughey needs no introduction. From his early 1993 breakout role in Dazed and Confused, to a series of rom-com roles in the early 2000s. Followed by more dramatic roles in the 2010s, he continues to push the boundaries of what is possible on screen today. Establishing himself as one of the biggest names in the film and television industry, he's collected dozens of awards across his career, including an Oscar, Golden Globe, and SAG award. Despite his fame and astronomical success, or perhaps because of it, McConaughey intentionally stripped himself of all accolades and egoic attachments in a 22-day journey of self-discovery in the Amazon rainforest.
And what was the thing that you found when you let go of your identity in the outer world?
But I was a mammal. And for me, as a believer, a child of God. That's it. I got rid of, I remember my dad's ring, which had an M on it, gold melted down from my mom and dad's class rings, and gold from my mom's teeth. Meant a lot to me.
Yeah.
But it was an identity marker. I'm a McConaughey. This is about my dad. I had my American cap that I'd worn for 2 decades. I'm an American. So we get rid of that. Got rid of all these little talismans that were identities and titles that meant something. They weren't random. They were healthy ones.
Yeah.
But I stripped them all off. No, you're not famous, and no, it's not. You were what before you were ever an actor. Before, what are you? What were you? Before you were McConaughey, before you were a Texan, before you were an American, before you were an actor, before you were a movie star. And it was a purge, basically. We've stripped off all the accoutrements. We've stripped off the ornaments. Here we are. That is the night that I was like, what other truth do we know, McConaughey? Tell you what, another truth I'm realizing right now is that you're the only son of a can't get rid of. So, we're gonna duke it out for the rest of our life here, or we're gonna figure out how to get along? What are we gonna forgive right now, and what are we gonna say, the buck stops here, no more, I'm not putting up with it. Let's get along. I can't get rid of you. Everybody else, every other relationship out there's a choice. You're the one person I don't have a choice to hanging out with. So let's work this out. And just like going back and saying the embarrassment and shame turned into giggles, I began to go like, man, maybe you're being too hard on yourself on this thing. You know what? Get that monkey off your back. You're human, man. Forgive yourself. And these other things, dude. You've been a repeat offender. It hadn't been paying you back. You've been regretting that choice every time you make it, and you keep freaking making it. Cut, man. Evolve. Turn the page. No more. And next morning, I remember even the the Sherpas and stuff in Peru. I came out of the tent and they all started going, La luz, la luz, the light. And they were talking about me and the way I was moving. Interesting. And I went for a walk. And for the first time during that trip, I didn't give a damn about what was around the next corner. I wasn't thinking about the destination of getting to the Amazon and how it's been 11 days. When are we going to get there? And mind you, this 11 days prior, I had not really been present in the trip because I was thinking about the result, getting to the destination so much. And then this morning, after that night, I'm walking, I'm not even thinking about what's around the next corner. And when I did turn the corner, I was stopped by this sea of atomic, plugged-in neon blue, like a puddle, like a bubbling puddle in the middle of my jungle path. And it stopped me. And I looked at it. I've never seen colors this neon and bright. It was like it was not man-made. It was glowing. And it stopped me, and as I stared at it for about 30 seconds, all of a sudden it started to flutter and rise and dissipated. It was tens of thousands of these Amazonian butterflies.
Wow.
And I stayed there for a minute. And then this words came into my brain from the prime mover that said, all I want is what I can see, and what I can see is in front of me. I was free, I was light, it was magical. I walked, I turned the corner, went down the trail, and there was the Amazon. I finally made it. Made it to the river. Right after that moment.
Wow.
Did not know if I was still days away, weeks away, what. Now, stuff like that happens, we gotta listen.
Yeah.
Those are some of those truths that come that you go, nobody else was here to witness that. That was not for the whole class. That was not on the speaker. That was not on the bulletin. That was not on the nightly news. That was not even at church on Sunday with the congregation. That wasn't at school. That wasn't sitting around the dinner table with mom and dad learning lessons. It wasn't from a mentor. That was for me in this moment. I must heed that truth.
McConaughey's experience of the Sherpas, labeling him as La Luz, translating to the light, following his awakening experience, relates to his favorite passage from the Bible, Matthew 6:22. If thine eye be single, thy whole body shall be full of light. Here McConaughey interprets this quote in relation to third eye consciousness.
This is what the Van Doyle is. So we so often are seeing life in contradictions, right? The future, the past, heaven, hell, technology, culture, and we see them as contradictions. When in truth, that's two eyes, right? And there's judgment on either side, and there's a duality there. But the truth is in that third eye.
Interesting.
Where they overlap. No, it's not a shade of gray. What the verse is saying, what I get from it is that's where all the colors live. All the colors of the truth live. That passage, when I always tell myself, keep a high eye. It's third eye. It shows up in all the religions too. Yes. It shows up everywhere. It's a way of perceiving the truth, I think, which lives in the paradox. Both are true. Two things can be true at the same time. It has to do with listening. It has to do with how we see things. It's how we judge. Especially today, I think we love to be judge and jury on others and ourselves. And it's a very arrogant thing for us to do. And this passage, if thy eye be single, and not a dual contradiction, and seeing the contradiction, things have gone, oh, this is true and that's true, and instead of or, right? That's where the truth lives, I believe. And it doesn't mean that you just straddle the fence and you're non-committal about anything.
Right.
That's not what it means. It doesn't mean you're just Mr. In Between, so that's true and that's true and it's all okay. No, you can then have judgment, but see both first. See the overlap of the truth and understand it from both sides and then be understood. And you can then have judgment, but see it through that lens first. Because we just don't do it. We come in with one eye. Or we, us versus them, me versus you, my idea versus yours, left versus right, Democrat versus Republican. Even, how far can you go? Can you go down to right versus wrong, good versus bad? I mean, we see them as contradictions, and they're not. We all know. We all got a little good in us. We all got a little bad in us. It's a choice we make where we then have judgment. So it's a great reminder. Matthew 6:22. The whole body will be full of light, and you will move lightly and with discernment. Doesn't take away discernment. It doesn't take away judgment. It's just saying, see it through that lens first and understand that truth is where those overlap.
Yeah.
And then make your decision.
I think it's beautiful that I believe it's your son that was born at 6/22.
6/22.
That's crazy, man.
So there's another one.
The date of his son's birth aligning with this verse seems like a clear synchronicity. That being said, McConaughey says we need to be cautious of these signs. When we give too much attention to everything that seems like a divine signal, the lines of where the true significance lies become blurred.
If you're looking for the signal and the significance in every situation, you start creating ones that aren't real.
Making them up.
And it's like, brrr, wow, you're getting stimulus from everywhere. Oh, that was a sign. Oh, that was a sign. Oh, and I remember writing this line about everything has significance, but not everything is significant. Right? And so we have to watch that fine line of where do we intuit? Where do we feel a truth? But if we're, again, like I was talking earlier about finding Camilla when I quit looking for, if we're hunting for the significance in every single thing, it can be mental meditation. The subplots become unmanageable.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
How do we know when it's significant?
Right. Can we put ourselves in that place to receive it? And be aware to see it.
You got to be light.
You got to be light, and you got to be in a place where you can hear it, feel it, and see it. But if we're out there going, well, we've all been there. Look at that art. Wow, that tree. And all of a sudden you look up 3 hours later and you were on your way to the bathroom, but you didn't move 6 inches because you were so, oh, wow. And we've been around those people like, whoa, subplots are a little unmanageable, bro.
Yeah.
At the same time, you got to be open to that mystical math that comes to us, because there's a metric to that mystical math. There's a metric to that spiritual, those gifts that come to us. We don't know how to put them in a category and go, there's how their currency, there's the credits and debits, there's how they bring us ROI, and this is what they're worth. They don't come with numbers like that, but there is a real, true, valuable metric to them. And I think, again, art of living, how are you aware of them, and be open to them, and put yourself in a place so you can receive them. At the same time, not go hunting them down in every single shape, size, and smell. Because then you'll just spin in circles, Got times where I feel like I'm in people call it maybe the flow state, where you're kind of, intuition's right on time, man. I don't know what time it is. I don't even wear a watch, but I was right on time again, wasn't I? Whatever that is, your reactions, you understand what someone's saying, even if it's not what they're saying. You kind of come back, you see where they're coming from. You're taking care of yourself, but you're taking care of others at the same time. It's a wonderful flow.
Wow.
But how can we learn to accept these spiritual gifts and tap into the flow state? McConaughey states that it all starts with gratitude. When we give thanks to the universe, it reciprocates and gives us more things to be thankful for.
My mom's big on gratitude, and she instilled it in us at an early age. I remember it was, you get up grumpy in the morning, you come into the kitchen from your bedroom for breakfast, and you wanted to sleep longer, and you're kind of grumpy, and she'd see it the way we would walk, and if we were kind of, she'd turn around from the kitchen making breakfast. She goes, go back to your bed and don't get out of bed until you're ready to come in here and see the rose in the vase instead of the dust on the table. Oh, jeez, okay, I gotta go back. I rearranged. She would preach us the very baseline basics. Like, who do you think you are to think you were guaranteed the sun was going to rise for you today? Jeez, Mom. So it started with the very baseline stuff. Now, we get more fluent in life. We have things. I don't think we should take even those things for granted.
Yeah.
But a lot of us are out there going, okay, I get that part, but how do we become thankful for, more things we have around us in our life. I think that the more we give thanks for, we give more value to that thing or that person or that place or that instance. You give more value to it, it means more to us. If something means more to us, we tend it. We take care of it. When you take care of something, something grows. So it scales. So actually gratitude is the root of generosity. Coming in and going. And it's a self-serving thing, because it will reciprocate the same way back out.
There are many teachings we can learn from Matthew McConaughey. He's proven to be not only a successful actor, but also a profound thought leader. He's taught us that through ego detachment, third eye consciousness, the ability to detect spiritual signals, and gratitude, we can make vast and profound improvements in our lives.